Don't do it!
Put the gun down. You don't want to make things worse for yourself, do you? Huh?
Get this lighter! No! Oh, I told you to keep it from burning me, not throw it out the window!
They seem to be following at a safe distance behind.
Get on your seatbelt, we're getting on the freeway.
It's your incompetent officers that allowed all this to happen in the first place. Now I want my daughter out of this jeopardy now!
The movie begins with protagonist, whose name is Jack Hammond, an average guy who had escaped from prison recently. He comes into a small store to buy a pack of smokes, but little did he know 2 cops were about to come inside and ruin his day. This made Jack utterly nervous about the situation. While standing beside him, cops hear on the radio about a car of a prisoner who had escaped and looks at the car. They confirms it was the guy's car who was standing in the store. Not too long after, he takes the women hostage and uses the chocolate as if it was a real gun. With the help of shop owner, he takes away the real guns from the cops and uses it to escape from the spot, along with the women, whose name was Natalie, and she was a daughter of the richest man in the whole California. Meanwhile, a group of cops gets a radio signal to go after the suspect whose name was Jack, so they begin their pursuit with 2 cameramans behind their seats. Jack had no idea that this girl belonged to a very wealthy family, perhaps the wealthiest family. He reveals to Natalie that she was his only ticket to escape this situation. While Jack was waiting for the car lighter to be ready so he could smoke, but seeing this, the girl pulled the lighter out and injures Jack with him, hence making him drive like a madman, and they almost get caught in an accident. The numbers of cops were increasing rapidly, which was making Jack harder to drive his car. On their way, Jack goes and takes weird ways, which scare the pedestrians away. It was clear that Jack was not going to give up this easily. In about a minute, Natalie begins to feel nauseous and throw up on the windshield of the cops, hence making them even harder to win the chase. Jack also realizes that he had abducted the daughter of the richest guy named Dalton Voss, and it all happened by a mistake. Now the whole world thinks that he kidnapped the girl to ask for tons of ransom from the rich man. Jack decides to drive away to the Mexican border along with Natalie, since he does not have any choice at this point. On the other hand, Dalton Voss arrives at the police station and shouts at the chief for not doing their job properly, but chief assures him that his daughter will be back home safe and secure in no time. There they manage to figure out all the information about the kidnapper, whose name was, as mentioned, Jack Hammond, and he had been convicted of a crime of robbing a bank, but escaped successfully from a prison van while the prisoners were being transported. Police have sent all the cops in a helicopter for the live feed of the chase. Everything was being recorded and played across all the TV channels around the city. In the middle of the chase, Jack accidentally shoots a cop car, which leads to a big accident, about which he explains to Natalie that it was not intentional at all. Jack explains to Natalie to calm herself down, and he himself hated violence his whole life. This was hard for Natalie to believe due to everything he had done till now. He reveals to Natalie that he had been falsely convicted of a crime he had not committed, which was a bank robbery. He proceeds to tell her about his past. One day Jack was wearing a clown costume for a children's party, whereby same day a bank heist was going on as well, in which the robber was wearing a clown costume as well. Jack's neighbors called the cops on him, and since then he had been given a sentence of 25 years in prison. This was the only reason he escaped out of the prison van, because government would not believe him, and neither any of his friend or family. Dalton Voss calls Natalie's phone and asks Jack for the amount of money he wants for her daughter's freedom, but he refuses it, says he does not interested in his money. Mr. Voss was also going mad at Natalie about all the things he had done for her, and she caused a lot of trouble for him already, to which Jack interrupts the conversation, suggesting he could not be a worse father than this, and cuts the call. Natalie was surprised by this gesture of Jack, since Voss had never been talked very rudely by anyone before, especially in Natalie's favor. Later, Jack's lawyer calls the police, assuring that he knows Jack's nature and there was no way he could hurt her in any way or form. He calls Jack and suggests him to surrender, but Jack does not believe him and refuses to do anything he says, since he knew things had went too far and it was impossible to reverse them. He knew that his charges will not only center around a bank robbery, but kidnapping and shooting will be added, and this will probably be a life sentence now. So he rather escape for a free life and try this than to give up. Later on, 2 clowns on the road decide to become the heroes of the year, but their plan fails miserably when they end up causing a huge accident on the main road during the chase. Later on, Jack reveals to Natalie that the gun he used to abduct her was no other than a chocolate bar. She could not believe and laugh about it. Natalie was getting a bit more comfortable with Jack, so they share the chocolate. She also treats the wound on his neck, where Jack also tells her that at the store he thought to himself if he could ever date a fine girl like herself, who he would probably ask out for a date if he had a chance. Not too long after, Natalie begins to kiss him with pure passion and offers him to have a romantic moment in the middle of the chase. At first Jack was hesitant, but later he agrees on it and they have the moment where he almost lost control of the car, which can also be observed by the cops. The chase had come to the point of night where Natalie asked Jack to go with him in Mexico with her own consent because there was nothing more interesting she had seen before. She tells him to ask for a huge ransom from her father to be able to live a luxurious life in Mexico. While Jack was thinking about this, he noticed the cars from the highway had disappeared. They finally reached the Mexico and American border and finds tons of cops blocking their way. Natalie was panicking a lot and forced Jack to do something, to which he reverses his car and proceeds to take a turn to an empty side of the road and breaks through the metal fence. It does not take too long for Jack to realize his fate and he stops his car, where all the cops cover them with their cars. He wants Natalie to go away since he knows he would ruin her future if he proceeded to take her away along with him to the Mexico. Jack ends up putting his gun into Natalie's purse and tells her to get away from him. She tries to kiss him, but he stops her because he knew this would get her in trouble or even ruin her life. So he kisses her hands and let her get out of the car. Now we can see Charlie was smoking and listening to a song. He goes outside, pretends to have a weapon in his hands. The cops cannot wait for him to do something wrong so they can shoot him. He asks if he has a gun, to which all the cops reacts immediately and shoots him on the spot. However, this was just imagination of Jack. He comes out of the car with his hands up in the air and gets arrested, while all the cops were showing lots of aggression on him. Natalie could clearly see all this happening, and seeing Jack like this, Natalie could not control herself and shoots in the air with the gun given by Jack earlier to get everyone's attention. She takes a reporter hostage and tells the cops to let Jack go free. Meanwhile, even her father, who was standing there, could not believe his eyes, watching his daughter choosing a criminal over him. So he must have been too harsh on Natalie, he thought, and felt devastated about it. To intimidate them, she even ends up blowing up a helicopter, which does work, and they let Jack free for the escape. At this point, even Jack was shocked to see what was actually happening. She walks up to the pilot along with Jack and puts a gun on his head to intimidate him. Altogether with Jack and the pilot, she get in the helicopter and fly away from the spot. In a few days, we can see Jack and Natalie spending the time of their life in the Mexico.